If you just, take a step back and look at the global stage right now, the one word that comes to mind is dissonance.
Yeah.
We're tracking these huge foundational shifts in geopolitical strategy on one hand.
And at the same time, you've got the intricate mechanics of global trade actively trying to sidestep all of it.
Exactly. And then you have these sharp cultural clashes happening online, on the ground. It's a lot to take in piece by piece.
It is. And our sources this week, they really show a world where the old checks and balances are. Well, they're either failing or being just intentionally ignored.
Alliances are wobbling.
Sanctions are being treated like a puzzle to be solved, not a rule to be followed. It feels like the ground is shifting under our feet.
And that's exactly why we're doing this. Our mission today is to, find the signal and all that noise. We're going to hit 4 key areas.
Okay.
First, the fallout from the new U.S. security strategy. Then, the surprisingly clever world of sanction evasion. After that, a thwarted coup in Benin and what that says about the whole region.
And finally, a few global friction points. Digital, religious, and domestic policy.
By the end of this deep dive, you won't just know what happened, you'll see the connections. Okay, let's unpack this.
The thread that runs through everything here is fragility. We really need to focus on the implications of all these rapid shifts, not just what is happening, but why the old frameworks, political and commercial, are suddenly so unstable.
So let's start with the biggest piece on the board.
Yeah.
The new U.S. national security strategy. The central message is, pretty bluntly, America first.
And that, right out of the gate, recalibrates everything. It sets a tone of confrontation.
It's not just talk, is it?
No, not at all. The strategy explicitly signals a readiness for active military pressure. It mentions targeting alleged drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific.
And the really big one.
And the really big one, yeah, considering possible military action in Venezuela.
The diplomatic reaction was, immediate. I was surprised by Moscow's take.
Me too. They came out and said the new U.S. strategy actually aligns with Russia's vision, which, that tells you just how far this document has drifted from the post-Cold War consensus.
And at the same time, they're using this new stance to push their allies hard.
Oh, absolutely. Specifically calling for Japan, South Korea, Australia, and Taiwan to ramp up their defense spending.
And you mentioned Venezuela. Our sources say this isn't just a hypothetical threat, right?
No, it's an ongoing application of pressure. We have former U.S. Ambassador Jimmy Story on record discussing the American military buildup in that specific region. So this is, an active operational shift. It's not just words on a page.
But the part that's truly fascinating to me is the reaction from traditional allies.
The backlash.
A huge backlash. From the very countries the U.S. needs for global stability, and even from within its own Congress. It feels like a rupture.
It is. The European skepticism is, you can feel it. The German foreign minister, Wiedefel, he affirmed the U.S. is a crucial NATO ally, but then he publicly questioned why things like freedom of expression are suddenly in a security document about Germany.
It's like he's saying, why are you questioning our shared values?
Exactly. It implies a fundamental lack of trust. And then you have Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who's even more direct.
His social media post.
Yeah. He told his American friends that Europe is your closest ally, not your problem, and pointed out their common enemies. That's the language of a very concerned partner.
But the harshest critique I saw came from former Swedish PM Carl Bildt.
Ah, that was something else. He said the document places itself to the right of the extreme right. That's not just diplomatic disagreement. That is a profound break.
And that fear was mirrored back home, in the U.S.
Yes, Democrats in Congress. Representatives Jason Crow and Gregory Meeks, they warned this could shatter U.S. foreign relations. They said it, and I'm quoting here, discards decades of value-based U.S. leadership.
So what's so fascinating here is how this all connects.
Right. You have a major European figure calling the strategy extreme right, and at the same time, our sources note the U.S. is getting closer to Germany's AfD party.
The same party that German intelligence officially classifies as extreme right.
Precisely. So the insight here is that the official U.S. strategy seems willing to trade these stable, value-based alliances for tactical alignments with fringe groups, and that just fundamentally changes the entire global calculus.
Okay, so if geopolitics is struggling with alignment, the world of commerce is struggling with accountability. Let's shift from high strategy to high-level evasion.
Sanction busting.
Specifically, Russian birchwood. It's making its way into the EU despite very clear restrictions.
And this is just a perfect example of sophisticated evasion. It shows that a policy is only as good as its enforcement.
So how does it work?
It's all about the loophole. The wood, which is a source of billions in revenue for Russia, it goes through a third country, mostly China.
Where it gets a new identity.
Exactly. It's remarked, relabeled to hide where it really came from. And the data backs this up. After the sanctions hit, timber supplies from China to the EU just prefall. They sharply grew.
And we can trace this to specific companies.
We can. An investigation found an offer for Russian plywood from the Chinese subsidiary, a daughter company of HEP International.
The German-Swiss toy manufacturer.
That's the one. And customs data showed that same company had imported thousands of tons of Russian timber into China over the last 2 years.
So this seems like a pretty clear case of intentional circumvention. Is this just corporate greed, or is it a bigger failure of EU enforcement?
Well, it's both. HEP's leadership in Germany wouldn't comment. They just said the subsidiary is legally independent. And then, right after the story broke, the sales offers for that wood just vanished from their site.
Of course they did.
But the larger failure is about adaptation. At first, the stuff was flowing through Poland. When Polish authorities cracked down, the trade just shifted. It multiplied through Spain and Portugal. The evaders adapted faster than the regulators.
The scale of this is it's staggering. An environmental group, Earthsight, they estimate about €1 billion worth of this wood gets into the EU every year.
€1 billion. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you see the critical role countries like China play in undermining Western sanctions.
And who's the main beneficiary here?
According to the reporting, it's Alexei Mordashov. He's the co-owner of Severstal. And his company, Sveza, is called the world's largest plywood manufacturer by Russian Forbes.
So the takeaway is that these complex international corporate structures, they're basically the primary weapon against global sanctions now.
Yeah, it makes enforcement a constant game of whack-a-mole.
Let's transition from there to West Africa, where political stability is becoming a very rare commodity. Our sources covered the recent coup attempt in Benin.
That's right. The government there announced they had foiled a military coup and arrested 14 people.
The plotters actually got on state television, didn't they?
They did. They called themselves the Military Committee for Refoundation, or CMR, and announced that President Patrice Talon had been, quote, removed from office.
And they vowed to bring in a truly new era.
Standard coup language.
Yeah.
But the attempt was, well, it was not very successful. Government officials came out right away and insisted everything is fine, that Talon was safe.
So what did they actually manage to do?
They only controlled the television building. That's it. They never took the presidential palace or any government offices. There was some gunfire reported near the president's residence in Cotonou, but that was about the extent of it.
So it sounds more like a mutiny with a PR strategy than a real takeover.
That's a good way to put it. Reports said people were going about their business, the airport was operating normally, but you have to see it in context.
Right. Benin has been relatively stable for a long time.
Very stable since its independence in the 60s. President Talon, the cotton king of Cotonou, he's overseen good economic growth. But his term has also seen a rise in jihadist violence on the borders. So for a nation like Benin, even a failed coup attempt like this is a huge red flag. It signals a deep fragility.
And for the region, it's just another domino, isn't it?
Absolutely. The regional bloc, ECOWAS, and the African Union condemned it immediately. But this is part of a very worrying pattern. We've just seen military uprisings in Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea.
It's the whole neighborhood.
The whole neighborhood. This isn't one country's problem. It's a contagious crisis of democratic legitimacy spreading across West Africa. It raises a really important question about the future of civilian rule there.
Okay, let's pivot now to our final segment. We're looking at friction points that are less about armies and more about culture and communication.
And we start with a pretty spectacular public fight between Elon Musk and the entire European Union.
Right. This kicked off when the European Commission fined Musk's platform X €120 million.
A massive fine. It was for violating the Digital Services Act, the DSA, which is the EU's big push to regulate these platforms.
The EU cited 3 things: misleading blue verification checks, refusing to give data to researchers, and having opaque ad systems.
Pretty clear violations.
So how did Musk react?
Defiantly, as you'd expect, he posted, "How much longer until the EU disappears? Cancel the EU."
So a call to dissolve the entire political bloc over a fine.
which then prompted a truly blistering response from Poland's foreign minister, Radosław Sikorski.
Yes, this was something else.
Sikorski's reply was personal and historically loaded. He said, "Go away to Mars. The Nazi salute is not forbidden there."
Referencing an old controversy where Musk made a gesture that some people said looked like a Nazi salute.
Exactly. So in one move, the fight went from a regulatory dispute to this incredibly sensitive historical confrontation. It just shows you the zero-tolerance policy European leaders have for anything that even hints at those old ghosts.
Now, shifting to a different kind of public defiance over in Iran. A marathon became a political protest.
That's right. 2 organizers of a marathon on Kish Island were arrested. The reason? Women participated in the race without wearing the mandatory hijab.
And this was a big event.
Huge. Nearly 5,000 runners. Men and women ran at different times, but the issue was the head covering.
And activists immediately saw this as a statement.
Oh, absolutely. The Iranian activist Masih Linajad said that thousands of women turned this sports event into a referendum against the mullah and the Islamic Republic. The fact that arrests followed just shows that the state saw it the same way, not as a dress code violation, but as a direct challenge to its authority.
Okay, our final point brings us back to the U.S. A domestic policy change about national parks that has some pretty significant symbolic weight. This starts on January 1st, 2026.
Right. So the National Park Service changed its list of free entry days. They removed 2 of them.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
And National Independence Day, Juneteenth, which commemorates the emancipation of the last enslaved African Americans in Texas.
And in their place.
They added a new free day, President Donald Trump's birthday, June 14th.
And there are also new fees involved.
Yes, a new $100 fee for foreign visitors at the 11 most popular parks. And those visitors will be banned from using any of the remaining free days. The official reason is that the money will go toward park maintenance and infrastructure.
So it's a policy framed by economics.
But you have to look at the narrative it creates. MLK Day was always a big day for volunteer projects in the parks. Juneteenth marks a pivotal moment in African American history. When you change which milestones get prioritized for free public access, you are subtly changing which historical memories the government celebrates.
So that is an incredible amount of upheaval we've just covered. From U.S. alliances being tested and sanctions being bypassed to democratic fragility in Africa and these intense cultural debates. Here's where it gets really interesting.
All of these things, they might seem separate, but they're not. A diplomatic document being called extreme right, a toy company caught in an evasion scheme, a change in park fees. They're all symptoms of the same thing.
Which is what?
Institutional norms and trust breaking down. It's happening simultaneously across policy, commerce, and culture.
So what does this all mean for you as you're trying to navigate this world?
Think back to that National Park Service change. The stated goal is practical, right? Funding, maintenance. But the choice to remove dates tied to civil rights and add a presidential birthday? That's a classic example of how policy can quietly redefine a nation's memory. So the thought to leave you with is this. When you see these policy choices framed around practical things like economics or infrastructure, always ask yourself, what existing values or what historical narratives are being subtly deprioritized or even erased in the process? Because that erosion of shared norms, whether it's historical memory at home or international treaties abroad, that's the defining global challenge right now. Understanding that subtle shift is going to be crucial for navigating whatever comes next.